Hey folks, thanks for watching our video and joining us here. My name's Keyvan Moussavi. I'm with K1 Design Build, and this is another one of our monthly lunch and learns. And so what we like to do for this session is to go over scenarios where you're in an existing home and it's just not compatible. The features and functions that are in the home are not compatible with modern day needs. And so the purpose of this presentation is to educate the homeowner on options on how you can find other homes where you can modify them so that they meet your needs. Or you can take tidbits from this presentation to kind of think about your existing home and what options you have potentially on adding more space, adding more bedrooms, bathrooms, finished space, play areas, offices, expanding your kitchen, dining, family, and so forth, so that the home that you weren't happy with, potentially it could become your forever home. So that's why we're here. We have this barcode here, and I recommend that you guys scan it and enter pertinent information so that this content that we're sharing here will send it to you via email so that you can access it at your own leisure. So let's continue. So the agenda for this meeting is just want to give you a quick recap on the market state since last year. Happy New Year, everyone, by the way. And just want to share with you again the typical path of ownership that people are experiencing, homeowners in this area, kind of what that trend is. And then when it comes to what we talked about, considerations in expanding and making the home more compatible with your vision, then, what are certain things that you should do? For example, location, doing an assessment if you're looking at properties of a home that you're considering to buy. And we're just giving you some, high-level information there. Just things to note about the zoning regulations, real estate search strategies. So when you're working with a realtor, certain things that you should keep in mind. Again, these are high level. And then what we want to show you is example projects of how we went forward as K1 Design Build, helping our clients with expanding their homes and so forth. And that's more of a path where a problem came to us, and our job as a design build experts, having done this for 30 years, solve it, see how we can bring to the homeowner various features and functions so that they can live happily. And that's it. So let's move on. Just a disclaimer, we are experts. However, whatever we share here, it's non-binding. You don't, you want to seek, if there's anything legal that we're discussing here, you want to seek legal counsel that's experts in there. Anything regarding construction that we're sharing here, it's not binding unless we have some sort of contractual agreement and so forth. And so just want to quickly go over that. I want to send a big thank you to Spring Hill Real Estate and JDM Title and our team at K1 Design Build for putting this together and having us get this to our viewers. So why are we doing this? This is the why screen, community through knowledge. So this is not something where we're advertising our services. The intent of this lunch and learn mainly is to kind of beat the guesswork or put some of the rumors on the internet. You may see it on TV shows and so forth, where all of a sudden something pops up, like, oh, wow, that only took 2 days. Why is it taking you 4 weeks or 2 months? Just putting that to rest, um, giving you local knowledge, DC metro area. It's mostly focused in Virginia because that's where we operate. And giving you some guidance on, ways to save some money and then getting the features and functions that you need for your home, things, and being mindful of things that can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. By just, educating you on these basic things, then we can hopefully steer you away from these costly mistakes. Hopefully. That's the whole intent here. And again, building smarter homeowners. We love smarter people when it comes to construction, because then hopefully your projects will be seamless as you go through with them. So, your home is real estate, and real estate is in a market. So we just want to give a quick update on the market, some key metrics as of December 2024. Again, things are changing. Median sold price in Northern Virginia was about 669K, and that was a year-over-year difference, uptick of 8.7% since December of 2023. So that's quite an increase. Total volume sold in Northern Virginia has been about 13.8 billion, and that's 10.58 year-over-year change. And monthly inventory, it's tight, and so there are fewer homes. There are slightly more homes on the market, but it's still fairly tight. Average days on market is, again, fairly competitive. And as far as the interest rates, depending on what's going on with your credit and so forth, we're seeing ranges anywhere between 6.08 and 722 and higher. The Fed did reduce their discount rate, their fund rate, and now it's between 4.25 and 450. And so there's talks of maybe one more reduction or maybe none this year. So as far as interest rates, I think potentially they may hold steady. Next month, we will have our wonderful presenter, Benny Poole, join us, and he'll give us a really nice presentation. Again, we're bringing him back to talk about what options there are for financing, purchase of a home, or financing construction for new construction or an addition to your home. So definitely join us for that session. Again, that barcode in the beginning of the presentation, if you scan that, then you'll be kept in the loop of it. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you was, this is from Fairfax County, and this is, tax increases averaged throughout Fairfax County. And so as you can see, since 2019 to 2025, there was a little dip in 2022, but it's been steadily increasing since 2019. And the significance of that is that, uh, people look at assessments look at market value, and so they're kind of feeding each other. When it comes to buying a dilapidated home, people may purchase it at an assessment price just because the home may be so beat up, or they may purchase it 100 or sometimes 200K more than the assessed value. So that's why I listed it here, to show that assessment values are going up and also market prices are going up. So it's a fairly competitive environment. Why am I sharing this? Well, because it's difficult finding a home that's within your budget. So this entire presentation is about, what do you do to find yourself more options when it comes to finding a home? Why do you need to go find a home that's perfect? You can find that imperfect home that is lower than your budget by several hundred thousand, and then you can put the money in it to make it ideal, beautiful, and maybe have it be a forever home. That's entirely possible. And so the typical path to homeownership in this area is, you get a college graduate, they start renting, maybe in Clarendon, Arlington, and then maybe they'll get married, have kids, expand their family, and then it's so expensive in this area that they'll find maybe a 1,000, 1,200 square foot Rambler, but it's not enough. The home needs more space. And so what do you do? So a strategy that we're recommending is, the homeowner they can focus on purchasing properties that need a bit of work or maybe significant amount of work. And we're talking about, for the purposes of this presentation, I mean, I'm not talking about foreclosures. I'm not talking about, off market. It's just in general. There could be properties on the market where they're just in really poor shape. It may have been in a trust or something, and, the homeowners may have passed away, and the people who inherited the home just want to sell it at whatever the market accepts. And so those are ideal things. So you come together, you think about, okay, should we get a new home? Should we sell our home and go find a new home, or look at the existing or empty lot option? So if there's an existing home, maybe we can tear it down and add to it, or if there's an empty lot, build new. We're focusing on this top one, which is go find something that's already built and make it better. Okay, so some things that you should definitely consider. These are things that a professional realtor, licensed realtor will help you guys with, which is such. So when you hire a realtor, or if you don't hire a realtor, you don't have to hire a realtor, but if you do, and that's advised, then these are the questions in either case that you should have in mind. So mind the commute, right? Is it near public transportation? Do you have major road access? Are you near 95, 81, 66, 123? Take it. 495, is the property near a major roadway, wherever you are? And research proximity, obviously, to grocery stores, pharmacies, and other daily conveniences. Sometimes you get blinded by a home and you don't even think about the things that are around you, and you purchase the home. It's called buyer's remorse. And so then you're like, oh man, we bought this home. It was so nice, but the CVS is actually 5 miles away. And so consider these things. These should be in a checklist so that you're systematically looking at it. And then other things are important too, especially if this could potentially become your forever home, and that's parks, libraries, community centers, and so forth. And just be mindful of that. Obviously, school districts, if your kids are if you're considering putting your kids in a community, in a public school system, how does that public school system, in terms of statistics of, whatever it is that you're interested in, compare to other schools? Is it within walking distance to things, or you don't care about that? And this is also important. It's municipal development in that locality. So is that area expanding? Is there no expansion? If there are expanding, what are the plans of that municipality to run things or upgrade things and so forth? There are places in Alexandria where they just came and dug through people's properties and they ran sewer lines. And so if you can look at the grand plan of that municipality, if that's possible, most people don't think about this stuff, but you can be ahead of it. You can see that, oh man, I was planning on doing an addition here, but look what this county or city is trying to do in my backyard. And so it's important to be aware of that. And then the other important thing is, distance from hospitals and things like that. God forbid if something happens, you want to be aware. There's so much more that you need to consider, but these are some high-level buying considerations. Obviously, there's square footage, number of bedrooms, and things like that, and we'll talk about that in later slides, but this is kind of the initial. So then this is the assessment part of it. This is more focused on the property itself. So uh, whether you're working with a realtor or you're going on Zillow or something else, and then you find these lists of properties, there's certain things that we encourage home owners or people who are searching for new homes to be mindful of. Some of these things most people are not aware of. They don't even know what these things are. But it's good that that's one of the reasons why we're doing these presentations, to make sure that you're aware. So when you see a property, there are various tools. I'll show you an example here, or documents and things like that that you can get a hold of from either through your realtor or through contacting the listed properties realtor. If they have a realtor, it may be for sale by owner. If it's a foreclosure or off market or something like that, you got to deal with, appropriate people who are facilitating that sale, and get things like the plat. The plat is a document that's a survey of the property, and it shows the setbacks and so forth. And we'll talk about setbacks in a little bit. In another slide, but be mindful of whether the property is, for example, a corner lot, whether it's in a cluster, or whether there are special covenants that restrict things that you may not know about. So some covenants may restrict doing additions to properties. Some covenants may restrict properties from being split because only certain number of lots are allowed in a particular cluster or community or so forth. So these are things. Where can you get them from? You can contact the cities or the county's zoning folks. You can actually set up meetings with them, sit down and talk about the properties. So when you have your pick list, this is where, of properties that you're interested in, this is where you collect them and you sit down. It doesn't take long. It could take an hour. And those folks are usually very helpful. Another thing you want to be mindful of when you're looking for properties is the lot itself. And so if there's a lot where the house is situated low in terms of its surroundings, then that's a problem, because water will collect around the property and so forth. It's common sense. Find a home and kind of look at how the lot flows. Ideally, you want a flat lot with the soil tapering away from the home. But if not, just look for a lot that has a gentle slope away so that water flows away, and then you still have some tapering and so forth to make sure water doesn't pool on the sides of the home. Then there's other stuff which you really need an expert there to assess, but these are things that you need to be mindful of. Are there any telltale cracks in the structure on top of the windows, doors, and the corners and things like that around the chimney that may potentially point to structural conditions? Foundation, walls, or maybe even roof issues. These are things that we highly recommend when you have your pick list. Either grab your contractor, or you can even hire an inspector to come with you and look at the property. If you don't have a contingency on inspection, that's okay. You can still take a contractor and an inspector with you just to have a look. even before you put an offer down. At least this way, you're well aware of what's happening. Sometimes what we've seen is people come purchase homes and they do some cursory, what we call lipstick on the home, and they put it back on the market. And folks who are not familiar with new homes, especially folks that are coming out of apartments or things like that, where they've never lived in a single family dwelling, they won't know these things. And so it's always good to take an expert with you. There's other stuff. You may think that, oh, wow, I have, such a large property, and I can expand, but then there's calculations that uh, in this area are required. It's called lot coverage. Some counties call it lot coverage, other folks call it something else, where it's essentially the number of structures and features and functions that are in your lot. There's a percentage of essentially dirt to non-dirt, if you would. And if that percentage exceeds a certain number, then any additions or anything like that are not allowed. And this is another thing where you need to talk to an expert about. It's fairly prevalent in Arlington County. Fairfax County has a different nomenclature for it. City of Alexandria, they mind it. So does Falls Church. And so this is something that can really bite you. So again, taking an expert with you is very important. There's other stuff. Again, this is where a contractor would be helpful. You may find that you have appropriate flow or slope in your lot, but then if you add an addition, that might cause problems, maybe with potential water flow and so forth. So um, we've had homeowners who have had homes that were prefabricated. We've had other homeowners who've had just a standard stick home. And when it comes to doing an addition on those homes, it's, we have to be mindful of different things, because a prefab home may take additional weight. If we put additional weight on it a bit differently than a standard home, there's considerations for beefing up the structure and things like that. And they're just a little different. Um, and we purchase properties as our own projects, and we design and build them and put them back on the market also, in addition to client-based projects. And when we do due diligence to make sure that we don't have any roadblocks come anyway. There's always surprises, but one thing that's really important is being mindful of whether the home that you're looking for is historic or it's in a architectural preservation designation. And that can, you may buy a home that's really beat up, you buy it for a great price, and you think that you can change it. But if any of those designations apply to that property, you can't really do anything. Even when it comes to siding, changing windows, roofing shingles, gutters, downspouts, they can be really strict about that. So for that, again, you can talk to a contractor or you can talk to zoning, and zoning would be able to steer you away from those problem areas. And then kind of a common sense, if you're looking at a home and you're thinking, wow, maybe we can do a addition in the back, or maybe we can build over the garage or something like that. Just go through the neighborhood. Have people actually done that in that neighborhood? And if not, it could just be by chance that they haven't, or if there's a homeowners association, it could be because that homeowners association is not allowing it. Maybe they have some strict covenant, but it's good to do your homework there. And then there's height limitations and things like that. Again, talk to zoning, talk to a contractor, and make sure that if you're considering doing a second floor addition, that's really allowed in that neighborhood. So that was a lot that I covered. There are really neat tools that over the years, the cities and the counties in our area have adopted. They're GIS systems. And so in lieu of not having a plat, which is what I talked about earlier, a survey of your lot, which essentially shows your property lines and, the distance, the maximum distance that if you were to build a structure or expand the home, that maximum distance that's allowed for it to be away from the property lines. The plat and these GIS systems kind of they give you the plat is the ultimate thing. That's the official document that really helps, especially if it's digital. And then the GIS kind of gives you a rough idea of what's possible in terms of your zoning designation and the setbacks. Again, setbacks are how far you can build up to the property line. And again, you can get the setbacks from the county. So if you've never ever heard of setbacks, if you've never dealt with it, call the county. You can ask AI, but AI does make mistakes. So I'd say talk to actually a beating heart at zoning, and then they will help you. The picture that I've put here is from GIS. It's actually a property in Fairfax County. And you can see that there's two different lines that don't match up by the street to the left of the home and the rear. And so that's really, so the home in this picture is not shown in an accurate way as to where it's sitting on the property, just because you have conflicting lines here. But if you find a home like this, you can get a rough idea of what's possible when it comes to doing actually, uh, a detailed plan or anything like that. It has to be done off of a plat. Now, the nice thing about these GIS systems, and you can go find them, is they come with different filters and so forth. And so you can put different layers on. You can see where stormwater sewers are. You can see where utilities are. In most cases, most of them show that. And so if, for example, you go see a home and you're like, oh, I love to build a deck in the rear right of the home, and it turns out that there is a public sewer line there and you have to stay 10 feet away from it, and it's only 20 feet away from your home or something like that, it could potentially cause some problems. So talking to zoning may not bring that into light. You may actually have to talk to Public Works as well to see if they have any plans or if there's any sewer lines or anything laying in your lot that could cause some problems. Okay. Other things to note, again, this is based on our experience and what we've seen in the past, just want to steer you away from this, is level of disturbance of soil. We've had homeowners, friends, whoever in the past who, maybe their lot wasn't quite level, and maybe they decided that they wanted, I don't know, 50, 100 dump trucks come and dump soil in their backyard to level the area. And, you know, and so they've disturbed a lot of soil. And so in those cases, you could potentially get in trouble for that because there's something called the level of disturbance. And this number is so important, it can cause some issues. The level of disturbance should really remain below 2,500 square feet. If there's anything above this number, you're required to have a grading permit. And with a grading permit, requirement for a grading permit just kicks in a chain of events of, things that have to happen and requirements that have to be met for erosion control and things like that. In the previous talks, we discussed something like this. And so if you're over 2,500 square feet of disturbed soil, then you have to pull a grading permit. In that grading permit, you may have to have retention systems and things like that. And it can get quite costly. The development of the plan itself can be anywhere between 20 to 40K, depending on what's going on. And then implementation of those retention systems can be, again, anywhere from 10K to 50, 60K and higher. And so it's really important to know if the soil, if you've had significant soil disturbed on that lot, even if it's not 2,500 square feet, let's say they built something on that lot and they pulled a permit to do that work, the level of disturbance maybe was 1,000 square feet, and then you're interested in building a 2,000 square foot addition and the setbacks and the lot coverage allow it. But since that permit was pulled earlier and it ate some of this 2,500 square feet, then you have to wait a few years before you can actually build that addition. So this is, something that you need to be mindful of. Again, we talked about utilities, public works, and also easements. So public easements, utility easements, these are areas where generally you cannot do any construction, you cannot disturb unless you've gotten special permission, and mostly it's denied if you ask for permission. So make sure you do your homework. How do you know about these things? Again, you talk to zoning, you talk to public works, you talk to a contractor, and they can steer you away from this. Another restriction is HOAs, as I mentioned earlier. And so HOAs may have covenants that say you cannot do this. Even though you have a 2-car garage, no, you cannot add a second floor over the garage. That's just that maybe their agreement, or no, you cannot go over this many feet. And so what the HOA says is law. You have to follow it. Some folks feel that, oh, just the HOA sees it, it's a local community, it doesn't mean anything, I can break the rules. No, you have to follow the rules. So good. These are things that are quite important. And in terms of zoning, again, talk to zoning. They are really helpful. These considerations here, there's 2 that I want to highlight. We talked about historic and so forth, distance from property lines, but the 2 other ones that you need to be mindful of are such, and these are usually shown in the GIS systems. I've seen them in Arlington, Fairfax, Falls Church, Alexandria. They're really good about showing this data because this data can be catastrophic, and that's resource protection areas and floodplains. The last thing that you want to do is buy a property that once or twice a year goes underwater. And so you want to make sure you don't do that. There are properties all over Northern Virginia that are as such. The price might be really competitive. Usually that's a telltale sign that there is some issue, but make sure that you're mindful of that. You can put different layers in GIS and actually see where the resource protection area is. You can see the floodplains and so forth. And even if your property is not in a floodplain, but it's adjacent to a floodplain, I would still be mindful of that and make sure that you've done your full homework, captured history on how far water has come up and so forth. We have folks who've purchased properties thinking that they can build a 11,000 square foot home on it, and they found out that 60% of the property is in resource protection and floodplain. And so they can't really do anything with it. So that helps, hopefully. And then this is mostly related to your search strategy. This is something that you either put in your filters when you're searching yourself, or you work with a realtor and you communicate this. And realtors may know some of these. They may partner with contractors and say, hey, are some of these possibility for these homes that we're seeing or not? And so one is we've had fairly good success with doing additions on homes that are aged, maybe it says 1960s here, but really 1950s to 90s on and newer. And, you know, uh, typically these homes have better lot sizes in some cases. That depends, obviously, right? There are some areas in the DC metro area where the homes were built in that time frame, and you know, but the lot sizes are not quite right. Um, and then see if there's expansion potential or a renovation opportunity. Mention these to your realtor, or you can do some homework yourself and see if these things were done in that neighborhood. And obviously, look for homes that are going to be, you know, if you're going to put 300, 400, 500K into a property to get it to where it needs to be, just look, be mindful of those price points that I'm buying an existing lot and a home, and I want to put this much onto it so that you have all those budgets in consideration. So you find a property that's ideal. And again, find other examples of additions in that neighborhood. That's usually a good sign. And talk to an architect, structural engineer, a contractor can come and, or several contractors can give you estimates. Talk to zoning attorneys and so forth. You have a whole slew of resources at your hand that can reduce your risks. Buying a property where you can't do anything with it, the whole um, purpose of this topic. So now we have several properties here that we've done additions or they're in progress. And I just want to go over these with you. These are properties that one of them is an investment property. We did our due diligence, we purchased it, and now it's in progress. We're very happy with it. So this is a property in Arlington. On the left, you can see how it was. And we came and looked at it and said, oh, wow, this has potential. Look at the setbacks. Look at the lot coverage that we talked about, and the height limits, and look at the comparables in this area. What square footage can we get it out to that's ideal? And on the right, this is where we are now. It's very cold and there's snow and ice. And so you can still see the existing home on the bottom right where there's brick, but we went ahead and added a wonderful garage to the front with a primary bedroom on top of it, and then an entire second floor on the existing. There's a front bump forward. You can't see it here. And then you can see up top, we have a beautiful loft, very spacious. So this could be you. You could buy a home like this, and you can add significant square footage. You can take it up to almost 4,000 square feet by putting in, a lump sum of money. You work with a contractor, you say, this is the features and functions that I'm interested in, this is what I want to do. They do the design, they do all the due diligence, and always work with an expert. I know it's fine going, do your research, this is good. I'm not pushing that you do this all by yourself. You should definitely work with an expert, a contractor, to make this happen for you. Why? Because they've made their mistakes. They've learned from their mistakes. If they didn't, they wouldn't be around. So you have kind of a natural selection there in the market. And so if they've done their they've gone through their school of hard knocks, they've learned, they're experts, and they will steer away from issues that are going to eat their profits. So you would be in good hands. So this is one example. Another example is this. Again, this one's in Arlington on the left. That was the cute home that they had, but they just didn't have the necessary features and functions. And so they said, you know, we need more space. We came, we looked at the structure, and we built an entire second floor, and again, a loft on their lot. And the second floor spans the entire home, and the loft goes perpendicular side to side. And I think the loft was maybe 30 feet long, 30, 35 feet long. And we were able to get 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms there, and then 2 bathrooms and a huge loft on top that they use as a rec room. And this, and a balcony here that our client likes to use to harass neighbors, but in a joking way. But this is essentially a forever home for our client. And they bought it at a really good price. They didn't want to move. And they instead ended up putting the money in here. So that worked out really nice. Another one is this. So this is another client of ours in Falls Church. And they were in a home that needed renovation. They had this retaining wall that was compromised. It was about to fall because of hydrostatic pressure behind it. And you can see large trees here. That tree was removed. And but there were major restrictions on what we could do in terms of setbacks, because even though, and we talked about this in prior presentations, this property, you know, it's situated, it's a rectangle like this, but then the setbacks were like that, and they were actually cutting across the home. And so we had to come and design and strategize in a way where we could still give them the features and functions that they needed. We gave them a basement edition, a main level edition, and a second floor edition, and a remodel of the main level, and a covered patio. And we were able to work with that. Now, you won't know this by yourselves, just going, this is where you need to marry up with an expert who knows these things and who's done these things for years and years. And they ended up with a beautiful home and getting this retaining wall addressed and so forth. Oops. Here's the next property. This is in Annandale. Again, this is a client who came to us and said, you know, our family's growing, we want more space. And so on the left, we have their original home. Again, it was a cute home, but the kitchen in the rear over here where that door is, it was small and they needed more office space and so forth. And so we ended up here on the left, right, bumping out the entire back of the home to match their existing sunroom that they had over here. And gave them, what did we give them here? We made it so that when you came through the house, it was completely open. You could see all the way towards the back of the home. So those are design considerations. And this 2 floors, we gave them a wonderful family room here and a expanded kitchen. We moved the kitchen back here, so it was much larger. And then we have a upstairs, we have a bathroom, huge walk-in closet, and a primary bedroom. Some things that we do and other contractors consider are, you know, this is a crawl space under this addition, and we're very energy focused. So this is called a, this crawl space is actually part of the interior of the home. That the benefit of that is that it minimizes or eliminates any chances of humidity or moisture building in that area. And so air circulates there, and it's basically like a tiny short room in there. Here's another one. The picture on the left, the comment that we typically get is we didn't even know that was an addition. And so on the left, you see this home. Client is expanding their family, and this was during COVID, I think, and was interested in building several rooms over the garage. This is another option when you're looking at a home. If you see a home like this, I would jump on it because you can at least add 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom over it, or maybe an office and a bedroom and a bathroom or something like that. But we came, removed this, designed it such that there's appropriate flow from existing to the addition, and built a really nice addition on top. When we do these things, we don't tie into the existing mechanical system. So this addition, and usually with most of our additions, the mechanical units are supporting only that addition so that they're very comfortable and it doesn't impact any other area in the home. This is another example where, you can see there was no addition in the back, and, they had the necessary setbacks, lot coverage, and so forth, where they could do an addition. And so they ended up adding a really nice sunroom, a new feature and function to their home. So when it comes to adding more to a home, anything is possible. And the reason why I have this slide here is because anything is possible. So this particular gentleman wanted to bump back the entire back of his home and have a deck over there. So I just wanted to show you that this is the existing home, and this, you can see the slope over here. That's how it was behind the home. So there was significant structural work that we had to do. So here you have a property where it's built on a complicated lot. The lot was not ideal, but the client found a contractor that could do this. So we came, we did the design. They even wanted a garage, but as you can see, the lot was not very friendly when it came to building a garage, So there was design considerations and structure to make sure that a garage like this, as you can see on the right, could be made possible. And so sometimes the lot may not be ideal. You may have the budget, so you may be able to find a contractor that can make things happen like that. So I hope that was informative. There's important things that I discussed here that I think everyone should have in mind. Stuff like, to recap, your setbacks, your HOA restrictions, seeing if anyone else has done similar construction in that area to what you're considering, talking to zoning, talking to public works to make sure that there's no surprises in your backyard, getting a copy of the plat to see what your restrictions are. Sometimes easements are not shown on your plat. And so you may have to take it to a title company too and have them search the deeds and so forth and see if there are any signed easements or anything like that. And essentially the other items that we discussed. So it's resource protection areas, floodplains, those are really important as well. And again, finding a experienced contractor that can help you with steer you away from all that. Again, scan this QR code, make sure you enter your email address. If you have any questions, post them below. And if you want to see any other topics that interest you, definitely share them with us, and we're happy to schedule them for subsequent meetings. Thank you. Have a good day.